What's going on, everybody? My name is Aiden and welcome back to another video. Ladies and gentlemen, upon reading more articles to kind of discuss in relation to the Chicago Bulls, I came across an article that suggested that the Chicago Bulls off-season is a generational incompetence. Now, I actually find it quite interesting because I think this is an off-season for the Chicago Bulls that is really eye-opening and that a decision has finally been made. But clearly, not many people, I wouldn't say not many people, this individual here, an NBA writer, disagrees and sees this as one of the worst off-seasons you could possibly think of for the Chicago Bulls. So I kind of want to discuss his points and discuss whether or not I agree with them or not, and kind of come up to a conclusion of what I think, not only about this offseason, but actually the off-seasons of the past as well. But before we get any further, if you liked the video and you want to see more from me, drop a like, drop a follow, and or subscribe if you are new, and let me know in the comments below your thoughts about the Chicago Bulls and whether or not you believe this is generational incompetence from the Chicago Bulls front office. Basically, the entire success of the Chicago Bulls, or in this case, failure for the Chicago Bulls, Bleacher Report writer Dan Favale, hopefully I said his name correctly, blames the front office for. And essentially, look, personally, I would agree with that statement right there. I think all of the Bulls' failures over the past few years is because of the front office. I think continuity was a strong thing that we did, and ultimately, it led to a lot of failures. We stuck by something that we shouldn't have stuck by, and at the end of the day, it did cost us a couple of years of our NBA seasons when it comes to the Chicago Bulls. But why is this specific off-season a bit of a generational waste? Well, let's get started with the first thing that we did was losing DeMar DeRozan and Alex Caruso and only getting back Josh Giddey and a couple of other players as well. And it's a quote here that says, "Trust that this organization will actually commit to something more than a," I don't even know how to say that word, pedestrian pedigree. Basically, I believe what that basically means is that the Chicago Bulls are going after players that are relatively unknown or very lackluster in terms of their playing style, in terms of their pedigree, in terms of their nature, whatever the case may be. Look, again, I think this is just coming to different opinions here. So obviously his opinion is as an NBA writer wanting to compete, and that is an opinion that maybe would be right if that was the mindset. I still don't think that's the mindset, and that is why the Chicago Bulls have made the moves that they have made. They want to go younger, they want to go in a new direction. So I don't think going after guys like Josh Giddey, or even the guys that he didn't mention like Chris Duarte, or Jalen Smith, or drafting Mateus Bazelis, or anybody else that we have signed, I'm sure I'm forgetting someone, or re-signing Patrick Williams, whatever the case may be, I don't see that as pedestrian pedigree for what we are trying to go for. I don't see that as a very, I guess, terrible thing to do. And ultimately, maybe if we were competing, it wouldn't be the best thing to do. But I just don't think we are. I think we have a goal and a mindset to get something in the future. And in order to do that, you have to start somewhere. And that's where I think the opinions differ. He's also far less excited about Josh Giddey. He said in a quote, "He's 21, he can pass it, I get it. He's also about to see his salary soar in the 2025 and 2026 season and is incredibly flawed." Ouch. Wow. That one hurt right in the soul, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, as an Australian, I don't really like to see people kind of trash talk Josh Giddey in that sense. But a couple of things he said is going to be correct. The first thing is he will see his contract, his money, his pay rise. He's going to get that in the 2025-2026 season. AK has said it himself. Basically, you don't make an acquisition like Josh Giddey without the vision of bringing him back long term. So essentially, the Bulls are going to be bringing him back long term. Now, what type of money he gets will probably depend on the season he has for the Chicago Bulls. But make no mistake, Josh Giddey is going to be a long-term asset for the Chicago Bulls. Unless he has such a disaster class, such a disappointment, such a complete and utter failure of a season that he simply doesn't prove his worth, I can't see a reason why he wouldn't be a Chicago Bull. But again, we've come in expecting this. Ultimately, we'll see what type of contract he gets, but as long as he is going to impress for the Chicago Bulls, if he's one of the few or one of the many, he will probably get his payday. That is pretty much as simple as it gets. But when it comes to being incredibly flawed, well, he's only 21 years old. As this guy mentioned as well, he's 21, and there are a lot of players at the age of 21 that are incredibly flawed. Not everyone is a Luka Doncic. Not everybody's a Trae Young, for example, when he came into the league. Not everybody is a LeBron James. Not everybody is a Giannis Antetokounmpo. Or to be fair, even Giannis at 21 probably wasn't all that. Maybe he was. I can't remember when he really started to elevate his game. Regardless, again, there are a lot of 21-year-olds that don't find themselves straight away. At least Josh Giddey has proven at the NBA level he could be a massive production player, if nothing else, in specific moments. Yes, he had a bad season last season. Yes, in the playoffs he got targeted. Yes, there are definitely things he needs to work on. He's not a great defender. He's not a great three-point shooter. And ultimately, he has moments where he does shy out of games. We need to see those areas of his game cleaned up a bit. It's as simple as that. But to say he's incredibly flawed at this stage, maybe that may be so, but you're also giving him no room to improve by saying stuff like that. If you're going to say, well, okay, he's incredibly flawed, at least say alongside of it, but there is potential to improve. Because anyone at the age of 21 has potential to improve. I mean, to this day, people question how Lonzo Ball turned from one of the worst three-point shooters in the league to over 40%, 42% to be exact for the Bulls when he played behind the three-point line. That's incredible. And ultimately, that's signs of improvement. Kobe White is a sign of improvement. Let Josh Giddey have his time to breathe and let Josh Giddey have his time to improve. So that's an area where he's not excited about. He also mentioned as well, and this is an area where I will agree with him, he mentioned that the Bulls didn't get a draft pick in return for Alex Caruso. And to this day, I believe that is the best criticism you can make about that Josh Giddey trade. Now, ultimately, we'll find out whether or not we win or lose that trade. But from the very beginning, I said we probably lose that trade because if you're going younger, you have to try and pursue a first-round talent. Caruso makes the OKC Thunder team a win-now team if they weren't already that. And they add a perfect guard next to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Yes, Josh Giddey may have not made sense for the OKC Thunder, but it still begs the question why we couldn't get any sort of draft compensation in return. And that is a question that I feel we'll be asking for a long time to come. So I agree with him in that standpoint. But is it generational incompetence? No, I don't think it's generational incompetence. I think this is the first time in a long time that the Bulls have actually tried to be competent. Again, 2 years in a row before this Josh Giddey trade, we made one trade in 2 years. And that is a team that stuck with continuity. That, to me, is the generational incompetence. Not this offseason. This offseason was an eye-opening offseason. And this offseason is an eye-opening offseason because not only did we make moves that I think we should have made, now we are also seeing firsthand how difficult it is to get rid of players when you decide to take risks on them and those risks fail. Zach LaVine is an example of this. Nikola Vucevic is an example of this. They took risks on those players and they took a risk on continuity that failed, and we are now paying the consequence of that. That has nothing to do with this offseason. That has all to do with the previous off seasons and the continuity that was struck with us, or we had to stick with for 2 seasons, and arguably at least a season too long, but 2 seasons too long most likely. That's where the incompetence lies for me, not this one. This one is far from incompetent. And look, we know Bleacher Report is not really a big fan of the Chicago Bulls anyway. We've seen multiple articles from Bleacher Report slandering the Bulls. So again, there might be some bias towards their end. There might be some bias towards my end. Of course there might be. But at the end of the day, I feel like this article is misdirected. It's misdirected to this offseason. It has to be dragged into that last offseason or the offseason after that, where we had chances to maybe do something and change something and we didn't pull the trigger on it. We let DeMar DeRozan walk in free agency or traded to the Kings in free agency, but let's not forget we had a whole season before that where we could have got a lot more for DeMar DeRozan. Zach LaVine, before the max contract, we could have let him go, but even if we signed him on a max contract, if you traded him 2 seasons into it, or actually a season into it, you might have got something for Zach LaVine. Nikola Vucevic could have been the same. So I don't want to hear generational incompetence for this offseason. If you're talking about last offseason or 2 offseasons ago, I'm on board with that. Not this one. This one's an eye-opening offseason, if anything. Do you guys agree? Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Stay safe, stay healthy, and stay tuned for more. Take care. and peace.